Today, we're looking back at a time when Joe Rogan exposed his father on the YouTubes. And I haven't seen this. You know, I really didn't know that Joe Rogan had daddy issues. I know Joe Rogan had daddy issues, but like real life, like dad issues, I didn't know. So let's look at this video. Sonny V2, way more famous than me, when Joe Rogan beefed with his father on YouTube. Give it a like, subscribe to this guy so he can make even more money than he already does. Let's go.
Exposed his own terrible father.
My real father was crazy. He was like a psychotic person.
It strangely became a TikTok beef.
You lied about me. Your father. You owe me a big apology.
You'll need a bit of context. Joe was born in August 1967 to Joseph Rogan Sr. and his mother Susan Lembo. As a child, Joe thought his dad was awesome.
Well, at the time, I thought that my father was like a hero. I think every kid thinks like that about his dad, especially if your dad is like an imposing figure.
But at the age of only 5, his parents got divorced, at which point Joe and his mother moved to San Francisco, where she remarried, giving Joe a stepdad. Meanwhile, his biological father, Joseph Rogan Sr., lived his own separate life as a cop in New Jersey.
So Joe Rogan comes from cop blood, huh? Might explain why Mike Baker's... I'm just joking. I'm not trying to make any more conspiracy theories. But if I were... I mean, you see why... All right, here we go.
Leading him and Joe to completely lose contact. But as he entered his teens, Joe realized his father wasn't exactly a hero. In a 2015 Rolling Stone interview, Joe explained, "All I remember of my dad," he says, "are these brief violent flashes of domestic violence. But I don't want to complain about my childhood. Nothing bad ever really happened to me. It was just confusing, you know. He was just a very violent, scary guy. After the split, we moved to San Francisco and that was it. Never heard from him again. It was..."
You know, this is what I don't understand. To the dads that have kids, it's not like you don't know they're coming. They give you 9 months. And in that time, you need to make a decision, right? What you're going to do. I don't understand the dads that make a decision to not care about their kid. I've said it before, and I say it again. This is why I don't have kids, because I'm scared to mess them up. And plus, I find them really annoying. I know everybody says not your own, but then you know, when you have kids, then you got to be around other kids, and then somebody else's kids that are really poorly disciplined, and you're just like, why did you have kids? You know, it's just a whole road I don't want to go down. But point being, if you have kids, what the fuck is wrong with you if you ditch them? I just never ever understood that. You sit there every day and wake up knowing that you ditched your kid. As much as I don't like Rogan's comedy, you know, I gotta side with the guy on this one. Bad dads are some of the worst things. I don't even know how you look at yourself if you treat your kid bad or you just cut him out of your life. How do you wake up knowing that you created something that you abandoned? Bizarre.
Further mentioned that Joe really would rather not discuss the topic, made apparent by its lack of discussion on the podcast. For the first 4 years of the Joe Rogan experience, he never once mentioned his biological father. But all of this changed on episode 118, when Joe began to expose exactly who his father was.
All my damaged shit came from my real father before I was 7. My real father was crazy. He was like a psychotic person.
He explained some of the worst things that his dad had done.
He beat the out of my mother.
Like he would be the type to come home
He beat
like,
the out of my cousin.
Really?
Yeah, he beat my cousin up. He picked my cousin up by his hair, threw him in. He was a big guy, big, scary, crazy cop from New Jersey. I got to see worst case scenario, someone who just can't keep it together, smacks women, beats the shit out of kids.
Further adding in the Rolling Stone interview, when I was 5, I had a fight with one of my cousins, punched him in the face over something stupid. My dad pulled me aside and I told him the truth of what happened. He said, "Did you cry?" I said, "No." He said, "Good, don't ever cry." I mean, he was happy that I punched my cousin.
He didn't give a that I was in a fight. He just wanted to make sure there was no crying bitches in the street. It was
That is
intense.
not great advice for a 5-year-old.
I was punching everybody after that. I was like, all right, you're getting punched. It was so stupid. It was like the worst way of raising a child ever.
At this point,
Yeah, but you have to think about, here's the thing about having one of those bad dads is they confuse a lot of like stuff up here for you, and they make a lot of things weird, right? And so a lot of your adult life is trying to undo those things, unpack those things, and like get to some kind of normal. Well, you have to understand that the reason those men can do those things to their children is because inside they're so messed up. They probably had it done to them, but they rationalize all of this behavior. They rationalize why they can leave you. They rationalize why they can beat you, beat your mom, and it's really insane. They're just violent little creatures. And they're bad.
However, Joe was barely famous, and as a result his father won't respond directly to the allegations. All he will say is, I don't talk about people the way they talk about me. That's not in my DNA. What's gone is gone. Despite his father
I've heard that one. It was in the past. You can't live in the past. Well, shit, you shouldn't have created the past, motherfucker. You did this. Don't try to sweep it under the rug, because it still messes me up. These are what these people say too. They don't ever want to take accountability, because if they did take accountability, they'd be with their kid, doing the right thing to their kid. But they're not. So you can't expect anything from these people. They're gonna die miserable. This is how it is. And trust me, these people feel it. You don't walk away. It ages them. All of this guilt. They live with guilt. And whether they admit it now or 20 years from now, they live with serious guilt. But that still it's not enough. You leave your kid. It's just
denying the allegations, Joe had clearly been through something.
There's something about like seeing someone you're close to who's an adult beating up like a 10 or 11-year-old. You ever see that before?
To the extent that it changed who Joe was as a person.
Is there a violent person in there?
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of violence in me for sure. I don't know if it's genetic or learned or...
Your mom and dad broke up early on. Is it connected to the dad at all?
I'm sure it's connected to him also because he was violent and it made me feel very scared to be around him. But I also think it's connected in who he was as a human is transferred into my DNA.
In the meantime, Joseph Rogan Sr. had 2 twin daughters, automatically making them Joe Rogan's half-sisters. One of them told the Daily Mail, I was 19 years old when my father told me about Joe Jr. He was not even famous yet. He was a comedian and did a show called News Radio. We looked him up on the computer and emailed him asking to meet and explained that his father would also like to meet him. Joe did respond, but not kindly. He referred to my father as a sperm donor, so my sister and I backed off and never emailed him again. Joe clearly had no interest in reuniting with his father.
Did you ever want to meet your dad? Did you ever... See, you know what's funny? My mom...
I met him. I knew him until I was like 6.
Instead, using the experience as a learning lesson.
It made me realize that you can't count on people, but you can
Then
count
that's
on
trust
some people.
issues,
But
man.
I definitely had
That's trust
issues for a long
issues right
time.
there.
But become someone that people count on.
But while Joe thought his dad wouldn't see what he had said,
My parents, like regular people,
Your
no.
parents don't listen to this show. They got shit to do.
No, they don't. But if they did, they're boomers. They're
course.
full on.
it turns out Joe Rogan Sr. had always been watching. Conveniently, after Joe had made hundreds of millions of dollars, his father and half-sister went public via
Yep. It's hold on.
TikTok.
So for all you Joe Rogan fans out there, Joe's been telling his side of the story for 27 plus years. Now it's time for the original Rogans to tell our side of the story.
It begins with Joseph Sr. first calling his son out.
Lied about me. Your father. Tired of it, Joe. Just had enough. You couldn't handle me. 81 years old. You couldn't handle this guy right here. And when you said I beat up kids, I beat up other women, how could I get away with that? You lied.
Listen. I have a lot of personal experience with this. And these guys are master manipulators, liars, deniers, and they never take responsibility. You say, how can you get away with it? because other people do it and other people cover for you. And a lot of times the wife, the children are too scared to say anything. But here's the problem. These people, what they don't understand is when they do these things to you when you're a child and they beat you and they make you watch things you should never watch and torture you and so on, right? It takes so long to unpack that. Because here's what they're doing when they're doing these things. They're beating insecurity into you. They're beating self-doubt into you. They're beating fear. They're beating pain. They're not just beating you. They're beating things into you that some people don't ever get over it. Some people never just and here's the thing. When you got a man like that, and then after years and years, this guy just denies you, abandons you, it's not that hard to be like, I have no feelings for him anymore. At some point, when it's over 20 years, I know this for a fact, that when it goes past the 20-year mark, the 10-year mark, the 15-year mark, and your father still abandons you, you give no fucks about that man. No fucks about that man. That man can eat shit all day long. All day, no fucks. And then this is what happens when you get some success. How do I know this? Trust me, when you get some success, when they leave in high school, they miss your 20s, and right at the end of your 20s, you get some success, you get some popularity in something you do. They show up on your social media commenting like they were always there. And then you write a giant article about them. And what happens? They go back to saying fuck you, abandoning you, like you never existed. These people only live to serve themselves, their needs, their wants, their desires, their violence, their pain, their horrible behavior. They serve that 24/7, and they are so blinded by all of their disgusting, horrible, whatever makes them, that they will never see you. And the faster you can distance yourself from these people and realize that what happened to you is not your fault. You were a kid, you were at the hands of somebody that was supposed to love you, but they didn't. They abused you. Whatever. At some point, you got to say, whatever. And really start investing back into you. Because the thing is, the longer, and I'm not saying it's easy. And it may not never, ever be done to an extent. It may always, and it will always shape how you look at people. You don't trust people. You always look for bad qualities so that you can protect yourself. But once you just say whatever and try to move forward with yourself, it's much better, because this is the real torture. Isn't the slap to the face, isn't the beatings, isn't getting tied up, isn't any of that stuff. It's bad. That's bad. But the real torture is the lifelong torture of living with what happened to you and everything that comes for it. And the quicker you can get through that, because these guys, when they have that, they that's what they want. They want pain. And when you can let go of that, I mean, just like a big, like if you could let go like 90% of it, right? And start investing in yourself and not believing that stuff, then they lose, because they want you. These people torment you, man. Sorry. Let's keep going. It's just awful.
We all know you lie. You owe me a big apology.
Whilst his half-sister supported that their dad did nothing wrong.
Joe, you were taken away at a very young age. Unfortunately, you did not get to grow up with the man that we were fortunate enough to grow up with, that my kids are fortunate enough to grow up with.
They try to make it seem like they simply wanted to talk.
Come here. sit down and me and you talk. That's it. I won't tell nobody what was said. I'm a stand-up guy. I ain't like you making up stories so I can make money.
However, money seemed like the more obvious motive.
You got all the money, everything, but you know what you don't have? You ain't got 2 balls.
I love when I see the comments. They just want the money. They want the money back. I have a box, Pandora's box. And if I open it, Joe, things would get really ugly.
The video concluded with his father stating this,
Family is everything.
leading him and the daughter to get mercilessly roasted. Family is everything. The guy who left his kid. Son, now that you're worth 500 million, I want to fix our relationship. His dad was silent for 27 years about this. He conveniently waited until Joe Rogan was the most powerful voice in the country and worth 110 million to come back into his life and square everything up. If it was about blood, he would have been there 50 years ago making things right. Despite the heavy backlash, Joe's family doubled down, stating on a press tour, "Growing up, my sister and I just had such a happy childhood. I just can't tell everyone enough what a great father we have."
The thing was, here's something else. Oh man, I ain't even gonna tell you about my life. They will turn your family against you, especially if you have younger siblings that were raised differently. Not differently, somewhere else. They were taken, you were split up, something like that. And they will turn them against you. They will turn everybody against you. They will turn their parents against you. They will turn their siblings against you. They will turn second, third cousins against you. They will do it all because they lie and they're master liars. And the thing is why the fuck would you want those people in your life? Because if your dad can go around and convince other people that a child is bad, that child is the cause of the problem, then do you want them stupid ass people in your life in the first place? Because that don't even make sense. But that is how these dads act. Nothing they do makes sense. Even for your own selfish reasons, you abandoning your kid, what does that do for you? Give you free time? I don't know. I'm not my dad's only kid. I just thought about that. There's more after me. So it don't even make sense. You gotta ditch all of them then. God damn it.
God has blessed us, she said. My father has never been violent ever. That is why Joe Jr.'s claims are such a shock to us. My father has never...
I'm sorry. I really just gotta stop sitting in front of my computer and pressing film because I don't think a lot of these things through. It's just off the cuff. One take. All day. This is all I got time for. I gotta work. I gotta make food. I gotta hang out with the lady bear. I gotta walk the dog. Give me a little grace.
Even raised his voice to us. He is the epitome of a wonderful father. However, a podcast episode they did shortly after again portrayed the opposite. Joseph Sr. introduced his son like this.
As he was growing up, what did you notice in Joe?
He was soft.
Soft?
Yeah.
It's soft in what way, sir?
He wouldn't get involved with people and he wasn't a tough kid.
And then proceeded to state.
Everybody out there, I'm going to tell you straight up, Joe's full of shit in plain English. He went to drama school. You can see he's a drama queen. Everything is drama to him.
If he's that crazy at 81, I can only imagine when he was 40. He then accuses his son of being gay.
Joe has sugar in his tank?
I'll bet on that.
Did you see signs of...
I think the dad is being very, very mean, but I'm not going to give you my opinion on this question. You can go watch my other videos.
That when he was young?
Long time ago.
Did he ever show interest in girls?
I didn't see him much since he was 7 years old. I didn't even know what the girl was.
But it was clear that his father was simply bitter.
I think the wrong thing they did was give him that number 1 over his head. If you look at his head, it got bigger. His head got bigger than his head.
Despite this,
I don't know, I'm gonna imagine this, right? I'm gonna imagine that, I did what Joe's dad did, and I abandoned my kid for over 30 years. Um, and here I am. I want to reconcile with him, right? Okay, I'm imagining this. And the first thing I don't think about is insulting him constantly. I would think if you really wanted to, reconcile, think about it. Think about the grief, the agony, the just writhing pain you must feel knowing that you spent 30 years away from your kid and abandoned them. If you really, really felt the weight of that action, the pain, the hurt, all the shit you caused your kid, if you really, really, really felt the weight of that, it would be crippling. It would be so crippling. I feel like you would just wail constantly, just feeling how much shame and and then that's the next thing, the amount of shame, if you really felt the weight of what you did, must be mind-boggling. It just must be so insane. You can't even imagine the torment it must cause you. But no, this guy, straight going after him. That's how these guys are. They're never wrong. I mean, it's not right. You say, it's crazy, man.
Joseph Sr. still wanted to meet his son, stating, "I'm on my way out. I'm 80 years old. I'm in the rearview mirror, but I would like to see him. I definitely would sit down with him because he needs to listen to my side of the story." However, calling Joe out made this way less likely, because recently, when Bert Kreischer asked Joe about his father, Joe refused to give the topic attention.
Wait, is your dad still alive? Yeah. Is your dad still alive?
Yeah, allegedly.
Positively, however, it's made Joe a better person.
Because I watch my kids I watch them, I talk to them, I communicate with them. I didn't have a good childhood, so for me it's important to be a good dad. Talking to them, treating them like I'm not just their dad, but also I'm their friend and I care about them.
Yeah.
When Joe...
Here's something, this is why I'm not very tribal, and I really tend to hate tribal things. I hate people that just will not ever admit they're right or they're wrong. I cannot stand it. I mean, I've done that to protect myself, but I try not to, and most of the time I don't do that anymore. I'll stand up for what I believe in regardless, but if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And I just don't like that. I don't like people ganging up on other people over something, especially when they're wrong. And a lot of people don't understand that. A lot of people don't understand why I don't compromise on what I believe. And if you treat me badly, I will sure the fuck let you know. And that's because when you're in these situations, these men turn everyone on you. And these people get tribal behind this man. Even though this guy's done the same things to them. But they want to stay out of the spotlight. They don't want to be noticed, or they want to protect the family and the idea of family. So when you are around men like this, or if there's several family members like this in your family, you get attacked. You get ganged up on. The siblings, the aunts, the cousins, they'll all gang up on the person. Whoever's number it is. And I never liked that because somewhere I'm built, I could never, if something was wrong, I could never side with anybody just to get paid, just to get popularity, just to get a promotion, just to win my mother or father's or aunt's or grandma's favor. Life's too short for that. And I don't want to stand up for nobody that's wrong except for myself. And if I have to stand up because I did something wrong, then I will apologize. I'm not a perfect human. I just think that way. because I don't think it's fair. There's plenty of things you can accuse me of, but I'm pretty fair. Because I don't like humans being mistreated so that other people can have power, feel good about themselves, whatever. So as much as I don't like Joe Rogan's comedy and his opinions, he's absolutely right on this. And I have to side with him. Because the one thing, fuck those dads that do that. They're the scum of the earth. And I will never side with the scum of the earth, especially if you're a bad father.
Don't stay.